for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre, McGuire, and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm Jimmy Murphy. He's Pierre McGuire. And we've got a great episode in store for you as always. We will shortly be joined by a longtime Flyers beat writer, Sam Carchidi. You remember him from the Philly Inquirer. He's also doing some work with Philly Hockey Now as well. You might have, if you've been in a cave all day, you might have missed that John Tortorella had quite the press conference last night after a loss to the Islanders, 4-3 loss in overtime. His team had a dismal second period. They did fight back to force overtime, but Tortorella reeled into the team, and we're going to get to that in a bit. We're going to get Pierre's take, Sam's take, and my take on that. We'll also talk a bit of college hockey. Lots of news around the college hockey world, some concerning some people we know, and we'll have to discuss that as well. But we do have Sam Carchidi joining us right now, so let's get to that, and then we'll loop around back to the college hockey world after that. Sam Carchidi joining us here on the Eye Test. Sam, how you doing?
Hi, Jimmy. Hi, Pierre. Great to be with you guys.
Oh, Sam, awesome to see you. Great to talk to you.
See you.
Good stuff. How's things going?
Good, real good. We're working on a Broad Street Bullies TV series right now, so that's taking up a lot of our time, but and the Flyers are never boring, as you know, and especially with John Tortorella behind the bench. So, yeah, there were some fireworks after that game last night.
All right, well, let's get to that, and then I want to circle back to this TV series as well. It sounds very interesting. I look forward to it. All right, so let's go to that press conference last night. We're going to play the thing in its entirety, and then we'll all respond to it.
Like after Sam scores that goal early in the second period, you guys had all the momentum, and then things kind of came to a stop. What was your assessment of where things sort of
soft? One guy played, the goalie.
How encouraging is it that he came in like that cold and was able to?
Terrific. He's the only guy that played.
Is that pretty surprising? Considering you said like you trust your team, you don't have to tell them or remind them, and then they do that.
You're finding things out here, okay? When these games are at a whole different plane, okay? It's still regular season, right? But it's a whole different plane. So we're finding things out.
So after the last game about that was kind of what you felt like wasn't a great performance. Are you concerned at all that tonight it kind of lingered again, that you just said it was a soft game per se?
Not the whole game and not the whole group. There are certain people that they don't have a clue how to play or just don't have it in them to play in these type of situations. And this is why I'm glad we're playing them. I'm glad because we have to figure things out as far as what we're going to become as a team here. That was embarrassing in the second period for the Philadelphia Flyer uniform, the way we played. Embarrassing. High marks as far as how we came back in the third. Some guys.
With regards to Ivan, why did you make the decision to bring him in, and how impressed were you in his performance tonight?
I wanted to bring him in. It just didn't look right with Urs, and I'm totally impressed. I put him in a hell of a spot. And he's the only goddamn player that played in the second period.
Give any update on John Tortorella?
No.
You guys now have a couple days off before you start back-to-back. Is that kind of what you were talking about over? Some guys need some rest, or is that you just want?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. Rest, this, that, the other thing. If you don't have enough balls to play in these type of games, rest doesn't do us any good. Doesn't do us any good.
Well, there we go, guys. I mean, he doesn't pull any punches. We know that. But that was a classic John Tortorella there. And you know what? And I think Pierre is in agreement with me on this. I 100% agree with him. I think he was right to do that. And as I just said to Pierre shortly before we came on air here, I think that, he's also sending a little message to the hockey management crew of Daniel Briere and Keith Jones and saying, look, we're identifying who's going to be with us going forward after this year. We're finding out the character of our team and who wants to be part of what we're trying to build here and part of the culture we're trying to build. So I don't blame him. A lot of people out there saying he's arrogant and no, this was uncalled for and he's too hard on them. Completely disagree. I think the world right now, not just hockey, I think the world needs more of this. I loved what he did there. Pierre, I'll get your take, and then Sam will go to you.
I'm going to go to Sam first because he's right next to it.
Yeah, you go first, Sam.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that is puzzling to me, they were awful in the second period. They were outshot 17-3, totally outchanced. And the odd thing is that Fedotov came in and stopped the breakaway, stopped several point-blank chances. So you would have thought it would have given the Flyers momentum, and the opposite happened. But to the Flyers' credit, they regrouped. They dominated in the third period. Some of that, the Islanders definitely sat back. I mean, they were playing with fire. I was really surprised. And if I'm an Islanders fan, I'm really disappointed with how they played in the third period. They were playing not to lose, and it caught up with them with 9.7 seconds to go. I mean, they were just playing total defense. Flyers outshot them 20-3 in the third period, and it was that one-sided. Sometimes the shots can be a little deceiving, but they weren't last night. So I guess I'm a little surprised that Torts exploded after such a really good third period by the Flyers. I know he's trying to send a message, but we'll see. You know, it was the right thing to do. These last 6 games will let us know. He rolled the dice twice last night. Once when he brought Fedotov in, and it worked. He stole a point. There's no way they get a point with Urson. Urson is gassed right now. He needs a rest. He's done a terrific job. He's had a very good rookie season, but the guy wasn't supposed to play this many games. It's not his fault that he's gassed right now. So he rolled the dice. Fedotov came in and shut the door and was terrific. That was roll of dice number 1. Roll of dice number 2 came after the game, when he really challenged the Flyers, said a lot of them didn't play with any balls, and now we'll see how they respond. You know, will they respond in these last 6 games? If they do, it was the right call. If they don't, it wasn't. I'm just really surprised, though, that the Flyers got through the gauntlet of their schedule. They played the top 6 teams. A couple teams they played twice. But they went 2-3-2, and outplayed the Rangers in a loss. So they went 2-3-2. I said before, I wrote that if they got 5 points out of that stretch, they're in good shape. They got 6, and then now they're playing the weak links. The Flyers have dominated the lightweights in the NHL all season. And what do? They turn around and they lose to weak teams. I mean, they lose to Montreal 4-1. They lose to Chicago, which was a killer loss. You can't do that at home. They lost 5-1 there. And, you know, you have to call the Islanders a weak link right now because they're not in the playoffs, and they lose at home in a must-win game. So they're 0-2-1 against the lightweights. I did not see this. They were 20-11-5 against teams not in playoff positions before this stretch started. So I think that's what really ticks John Tortorella off, because I don't think he saw this coming either. And hopefully, they respond, but we'll see.
Well, he's trying to create standards, number 1. So I get that. Number 2, he's playing with house money. There's not a writer in the world, Sam, and you know this, that was predicting Philadelphia would be playing meaningful games in April of this year. Nobody in their right mind thought that was going to happen. So they deserve a lot of credit on the Philadelphia side. I know exactly what John's trying to do, though. He's not trying to challenge his team. He's challenging the front office. He's telling them there are certain guys in this team that can't play, and you're going to have to move them out. And that's the only way I'm going to come back here and coach. Listen, John's really smart. He's really calculated. He needs certain types of players. And if he doesn't get those types of players, his coaching methods don't work. So he needs certain types of players, and he's going to get them. I believe he's going to get them. I think the Flyers have had a tremendous season. I can tell you. And, Sam, if you picked them to be in the playoffs, you're a much smarter hockey man than any of us.
No, I did not.
I don't know one person, and I talked to a lot of hockey people, that had Philadelphia anywhere near the playoffs this year.
Yep. And I want to say something too, guys. And I heard, I was listening to I listen to all sorts of different radio stations all the time for hockey news, just to keep up with what's going on. And I'm listening to some people up at TSN 1050 in Toronto this morning, and they're saying that this is Tortorella being too focused on the now and trying to get them into the playoffs. And I disagree. I think it's more what Pierre just said. I think it's both. I think, yes, he's focused on the present, but he's also trying to set the table for the future. So he still has the big picture in mind here. And that's what he's trying to do. Like we were just saying, he's trying to send that message to management and say, hey, we got to start identifying who these guys are that aren't going to be a part of it past this season. So I think it helps both now and in the future. And, we'll see. You're right, Sam. We'll see how they respond right now. But I do think it will benefit them going forward. Sam, one thing I want to talk about, and just so when he was talking about putting Fedotov in there, the big man, he finally arrives in Philly at Fedotov mania over the last few days. 6'7" goalie, the tallest goalie in the NHL right now, until maybe Cooper Black arrives, who was just signed by the Florida Panthers, but that's down the line. What has been your take on just the process to get him over, and now that he's here, what's it been like?
Yeah, I'm very surprised that they were able to get him over. Credit to Danny Briere and his staff for doing that. And I was surprised. I've seen some tape of him, but I never seen him in person. And I'm very surprised at his athleticism and the way he handled the puck. And a couple of Flyers mentioned that after the game. You know, he cleared the puck down the ice on a shorthanded situation and headman pass and started an offensive rush. So, you know, he looks like he's got some athleticism. He's just not, you know, a 6'7" guy that's uncoordinated and he's playing goalie because he's not coordinated. He looks like he's an athletic guy, and, you know, and he's very poised. And somebody asked him after the game last night, you know, were you surprised, you know, at being thrown in there? He says, well, you know, I'm not a young guy, so I've been through a lot, and you know, I wasn't panicking or anything. I've seen a lot, and you know, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he was expected to play they have back-to-back games Friday and Saturday, and you know, they played Buffalo on Friday and then Columbus, two teams that are out of the playoff picture right now, and so it'll be interesting to see. I wouldn't be surprised if they use Fedotov in the first game. And just to see how he does and give Urson another day's rest. Come back with Urson in the second game, of course. But, you know, it's interesting. The other interesting thing to me is who was Torts talking about yesterday? I mean,
yeah, that's the big question, right?
Igor Zamula and Eric Johnson had horrendous games on the back end. Eric Johnson, you know, they rolled the dice and when they picked him up at the deadline, and he has not produced. It's, you know, it's not for a lack of effort. He's trying hard. He's been a minus player in almost every game, and he's minus 11 in the 12 games he's been with the Flyers. You know, the plus minus doesn't always tell everything, as you know, but it just seems like when he is on the ice, bad things happen. And him and Zamula were together yesterday, and we're on the ice for two of the goals. And a couple of the other guys, Cam Atkinson has had a really bad year. And again, it's not for a lack of trying, but he has not scored 18 straight games. And, of course, Tortorella had him for a long time. And Joel Farabee really hasn't produced lately. He's a young guy, and Joel hasn't scored in 8 games. And he may be a guy he was talking about. I'm not sure. But and he's a guy that they're really relying on, you know, to be a 25 to 30 goal scorer every year. He's still a young guy, first-round pick. So, you know, I'm just curious. I mean, Couturier has not played well, but he was hurt in yesterday's game. Looked like he hurt his shoulder. So I don't think he was talking about him. But, you know, those four, to me, are the main candidates that he was talking about yesterday. And, you know, there's a lot open to interpretation. But I'm just anxious to see, like Tort said, and he spoke the truth. You know, he's just happy they're in this situation so he can learn. And I think Pierre addressed it, so he can learn about these guys and what they do in these pressure situations. So this is valuable, even if they don't make the playoffs. This is a valuable 2-week stretch here.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's so well said by Sam, Jimmy. Just what he said at the end there. This is a dress rehearsal for a lot of these guys. I remember when Bob Gainey did this with Guy Carbonneau in Montreal, and he brought him down. And he said, "Guy, I want you to evaluate the roster for me because you know you're going to be the guy that's going to coach." And it made a big difference for Bob and for the Canes back then. So here's how I would do it, Jimmy and Sam. I would watch that game back. And knowing John Tortorella, I would say, show me the guys that are turning the puck over. Show me the guys that aren't taking hits to make plays. Show me the guys that are getting beat one-on-one off the rush that don't want to establish physical presence or stick presence. And show me the guys that can't clear the crease. So I'm just thinking from watching that game, I can think of 7 guys right now that fit those categories. And those are the guys that I'm willing to bet either got it last night, double-barreled behind closed doors, or got it today at some point.
Yeah, and I want to say, Sam, you brought up Farabee. Am I not mistaken? Did earlier in the season, maybe even more, I'm talking like back to like Thanksgiving around that time, Did he not call out Farabee or make him a healthy scratch at one point? There was something going on.
Yeah, he has, and he's done that to him in his 2 years here. He's done it to Morgan Frost in his 2 years here. And Morgan Frost, to his credit, has really rebounded, and and he's been the Flyers' one of their best players over the last week. A great stick handler, and you saw his determination if you watched the end of the game where he scored
the game tying goal is beautiful.
It was a gritty goal, and unfortunately he turned the puck over that led to the winning goal in overtime. But Frost plays hard, and I don't think he was talking about Frost. Obviously he wasn't happy with the turnover, but those things happen. But you just get a sense that he's not happy with Farabee and Atkinson. Atkinson has been benched a lot, and he's getting up there in age. It happens to the best of them.
Jimmy, before you get going, I just want to ask Sam. I coached against John. I respect the heck out of John. I'm prepared to say, and I've told this to Jimmy, I think this might be, Sam, his best coaching job ever. I mean, and like he took the New York Rangers to the Stanley Cup final in 2012. I'm just telling you.
I agree. I wrote a column about a month ago saying that he should be a coach of the year candidate. I don't think he was number one guy.
He's definitely
five.
We agree on that. So I wanted to ask Sam, what is it? Do you see them interacting like Keith Jones and Danny Briere and John, or are they? Is it coaches on one side and management on the other, and they just make phone calls? How do you see them evolving as a staff?
Yeah. Oh, they're great together. They have an open door policy, and they're always talking together. And Jonesy, Briere, and Torts are all on the same page. And like you said, he's sending a message to them yesterday that we've got to get a few more players here, and that's not really a surprise. To me, the surprise was that he called everybody out after such a good third period. I guess I thought that I could see if the game ended. If their second period was actually the third period, I could see him feeling over. But that would have calmed his nerves down, and he would have been okay. But they played so well in the third period, and like Pierre said, they're playing with house money. And let's face it, losing Carter Hart really crippled this team. There's no question, because 100%. When you have Urson backing up Hart and not having pressure, it just put everybody in the right slot. And some of the injuries killed them too on defense. They were missing 3 regular starters for about a month. They just got Drysdale back. They just got Nick Seeler back. But, you lose half your defense, and then they traded Walker. So really, they lost.
I was ask you about that. Yeah, how did that?
They lost 2/3, and that was a trade you have to make if you can get a first-round pick. So you lost basically 2/3 of your starting defense. So I agree with you, Pierre. I mean, Torts has done an amazing job, with the talent that he has.
Pierre, I want to ask you too. I mean, just as a coach, you're not gonna, some people say, oh, well, he rides guys too hard, or he singles out guys. But at the same time, I always feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, that a good coach, he's not going to just do that for the sake of it. He's going to ride the guys he thinks has more potential more than the ones he doesn't, because he sees it in them and he wants to draw it out of them, and he knows that they can be better. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. Every player's different, though. Some guys
you got to read the room,
handle it, and some guys need the velvet glove. They don't need the kick in the derriere. Everybody's different, and that's part of the art of coaching, is to figure out your room quickly, figure out the guys that can handle the stuff, and figure out the guys that can't. They need to have the arm put around them and say, you know what, kid, I really love you, and I want to work with you. I've seen Scotty Bowman, when I was coaching with him, really be hard on star players. And then I've seen him be unbelievably kind and amazingly supportive of lesser talented players who he knew needed confidence. So, it's an amazing how that whole thing works when you're trying to motivate a player, because every player is different, Jimmy. They all, like, this thing about one size fits all doesn't work. And I think, and Sam's around it more than us, and I really respect Sam's opinion on this. I think John has a soft spot for certain guys, and I think John has a hard attitude towards other guys.
Yes.
I think he figures out the guys that can handle that and the guys that can't. I don't know.
Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. He I don't know if you would say plays favorites, but he does have guys that he admires more than others, and some, he just likes to light a fire. But I was just looking, Pierre. I was just curious. I didn't look till just now on the giveaways. You said I'll look at the giveaway chart, and Igor Zamula led the Flyers with 3 giveaways last night. I knew the eye test, he was pretty bad, and he did have 3 giveaways. So he's one of the guys he's
That's in the mail for saying that.
Yeah, that's in the mail to you, Sammy. That's good. Jimmy, Sam made another really good point. I so appreciate having him on. Sam, I remember when Torch was John Muckler's assistant in Buffalo, and they had a guy there named Rob Ray. I've never talked to John about it or not, but I'm going to say, just based on what Sam just said, Rob Ray was one of John Tortorella's favorites. I'm just going to venture to say.
I would think so.
And you know what? You watch the progression. Like, I coached against this guy. I think we played Buffalo 9 times one year. I think it was 9. I could be wrong. And you watch the progression in Rob's game. And I'm telling you right now, it was amazing. And the other thing that Torts did amazingly well back then, he was one of the first guys I ever saw practice power play this way. He created plays, and they would work on 3 plays at a time, then 4 plays at a time. It was unbelievable. And like on the power play, Patty LaFontaine was there. Yuri Himalev was there. The late Dale Howardchek was on that. Dougie Bodger was on that. Like the power play, and Alexander McGillney was on. Like,
whoa.
The Torch
power play.
I think they were 3rd to 5 in the league at the time. Power play was an important part of the league then because it's hard to score goals. I'm just telling you, John Tortorella is a really good coach, and I think he's got it buttoned down now, and I think he's figured out his team in Philly. And they're going to be dangerous next year. Sam, I think they're going to be really dangerous. I do.
Yeah, they need to pick up a scorer, and they need some young guys to blossom like a Farabee. And but Garnett, getting back to your other point about his favorite, Garnett Hathaway is a guy who really plays a strong, gritty game and quietly, gets 5 hits and 4 block shots a game, and he's only a 3rd or 4th line winger, but he does his job, lunch pail guy, and he's a guy that Torts really appreciates. And in fact, he was a 4th liner. He's moved up the 3rd line for much of the last 6 weeks or so because of that. By the time he's giving him on the ice, you can tell how much he appreciates him. So,
Jimmy, you know who his agent is?
I don't.
Matt Cater.
Oh, our good friend Matt Cater.
Friend of the show, Matt Cater.
Shout out to Matt. We were talking about him today.
Yeah.
Hey, quickly, too, you say they're going to need to bring in some guys. One thing to note, though, and I'm sure you already know, Sam, I'm looking at it right now, compliments of my good friends at Puckpedia, only $2.3 million projected cap space for next season. However, a lot of guys coming off the books after next season. So they can move around some guys, maybe trade some guys.
Maybe buy out an Atkinson or something like that, too.
Exactly.
So, in Danny, they trust. I think Danny will get things done. He's done a really good job.
He really has.
Stockpile draft picks, which is the most important factor.
Yeah, he's won me.
We're all in agreement. We've been bullish on the Flyers since the show started, Sam. So you've been really insightful. I really appreciate some of the takes you've had here today. Thank you so much. It's been awesome.
Sam, before we let you go, tell us about this series you're working on.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate the time. Yeah, Jeff Hare, who's a movie maker and done a lot of TV shows. He's formerly from Philadelphia. He's been out in L.A. for 30 years. And Susan Blanchard Ryan, you probably know Ron Ryan, who was the Flyers president. Well, Susan is Ron's daughter, and she was an actress. Wow. And she's behind the scenes. And the 3 of us are putting together, we're writing. It's not a documentary. It's a drama. It's a 2-year series. 8 parts in each year, and we're putting together a trailer now. We have 2 episodes written, and we're about probably in a month or so we'll start taking it to networks, and we're so excited about it. It's the behind the scenes look. Nobody's ever done this. I mean, HBO did a great documentary on 25% hockey, 75% behind the scenes. What Fred Shiro was like off the ice, Ed Snyder, Bobby Clark, Bernie Perrant, Dave Schultz. There were so many great characters, so many great personalities. We have literally 1,000 pages of transcripts. We've talked to basically all the players and front office people connected to that team. And the basic theme is the love of the fans for the Flyers. Because if you go back to that time, Philadelphia was the city of losers. The Sixers believe it or not, were 9-73. The Eagles were in last place. The Phillies were in last place. Eagles had like the worst record since the 40s. And along came these Canadian kids. And by the way, they're still the last team of all Canadians to win the Stanley Cup in 75.
Wow. I did not know that.
So our focus is from 67 to 76. And that's where it ends. And we add 76 because the Flyers, even though they lost to Montreal and they were missing Rick McLeish, they were missing Gary Dornhoefer, they were missing Bernie Perrant. They lost 3 one-goal games. They gave it their all. The fans at the Spectrum in Game 4 would not leave. They just stood up and applauded. It was like, thank you for this 3-year run. And so we wanted, even though they lost in the finals to a great Montreal team, we wanted to end it with that. And we also wanted to include their famous win over the Soviets in January of 76. So
when they left the ice. When they left the ice, and then they were told, we're not going to pay you unless you come back on the ice. Yeah,
I don't know this, guys. I'm lost in this. What happened?
Clarkie got a little wild with his stick and broke a guy's leg, and then
no, that wasn't in that. That was in this. That wasn't in that series. This was Ed Van Imp.
Eddie Van Imp with the elbow.
Right, with his elbow. He said he ran into my elbow. Clarkie did it in the tournament.
In the 72. But
right. This was 76.
They told the Russians, we're not paying you unless you come back on the air.
Right. So they came back, right, Pierre?
Hey, Sam, I have one thing for I don't know if you guys have talked about this for your show. This sounds so amazing. Probably the most difficult ride in any NHL rink was the tunnel in the Spectrum back in the day for the visiting team. Have you ever thought about including that in your documentary or your tape on the Broad Street Bullies? Because I'm telling you, ask any player or coach that used to make that drive down the tunnel. That was the worst ride for about 35 seconds you could ever imagine.
Just walking down the tunnel, Pierre? Is that what you're saying? Just walking down the tunnel was difficult?
Walking or riding down on the team bus. Guys were
I see.
Guys were like, we don't want to do this. It's the freaking Spectrum. These people are maniacs. They're going to kill us.
Did they throw stuff at your bus, or I haven't heard that yet? But all the Flyers said that when they went to Madison Square Garden, they would get pelted with rocks and things. They couldn't get out of Madison Square Garden, and some of the players actually got off the bus. And I don't want to ruin our surprise, and actually got into fights with the players, and they were very serious about it. And the police had to intervene. There were a lot of crazy stories, but I never heard this. There were actually fans.
The visiting team, one of the worst rides ever was to come into the Spectrum because you knew it's coming. When you got off the bus, you knew what the Flyers were going to do to you.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to be fun. So guys would be sitting on that bus going, I think my shoulder's a little sore today, coach. I might not be. It was unbelievable. But you know what? There are 2 guys I probably bet you're going to document them. One is Joe Watson, who's just an unbelievable guy.
Yeah, we talked to Joe for about 3 or 4 hours, and we could have gone for double that.
He's just an amazing. Joe's such an awesome human being. And the other guy, and I work with him in Ottawa, is Moose Dupont.
Moose is the best. In fact, the Flyers.
Unbelievable.
Moose. In fact, this is the first time I've ever talked to Moose. They have something in Philadelphia called Friday Night Fights, and they bring Dave Schultz back, and they brought DuPont back. This was just 2 weeks ago I saw Moose. They bring him to South Philadelphia, and this is how much Philadelphia misses fighting. They show highlights of all the fights from the 70s, from current fights, and they have guest speakers, former enforcers that come. And they sell it out. They sell at $350 a ticket. All the money goes to charity.
That's awesome.
That's cool. That's good.
And Moose was there, and I talked to Moose for about 20 minutes, and he was terrific. He remembered everything, every little detail, about specific games in the 74 finals against the Boston Bruins, and the insight. And most of the Flyers, I was really surprised because I thought they would say the biggest addition they got Flett and Ross Lonsberry. I'm going way back. Yeah. But most of them said what put them over the top was when they traded Brent Hughes, a name from the past, for Moose Dupont and Pierre Plante. They traded Pierre Plante as well. And they got Andre Dupont. And they said that solidified them and made them really difficult to play against. And he cleared the crease. They had 2 guys, him and Ed Van Imp. So
I was going to say, don't forget Eddie. He couldn't clear the race. Oh, man. What a collection of characters. Jimmy, I'm telling you, the one thing about working with Moose DuPont, what I remember, Sam and Jimmy, is he would tell the best Fred Sherrill stories.
Oh,
he would tell the best. And, I worked with Ray. Ray was my agent, full disclosure. Ray's been an amazing executive. I just remember, it's pretty good, being at a wedding with Ray and his late mother and Fred. And Fred and I started doing breakouts with Budweiser bottles. I'm not kidding you. And Mariette had seen that before, Ray's mother, Fred's wife, and sure. Ray and Mariette left, and probably 2 hours later, Fred and I were still moving. He was the most amazing, highly cerebral man. He was a very, very intelligent person.
Yeah, we did talk to Ray too, and he was tremendous. And he talked about the day where Freddie was beaten up in Atlanta during the playoffs, and they had to go pick him up at the airport. And he said it was the only time my mother drove, and his father didn't want to drive, and he had bruises all over his face. Still doesn't, Ray still doesn't know what happened. Fred never divulged what happened. I think he went into a bar, and this is what Clarkie thinks, and said something about the Flyers, and a couple guys jumped him. But he did. A lot of people forget he did not even coach the last game. It was a quarterfinal game against the Atlanta Flames, and Mike Nicolak. Right. He was the head coach, and Schultz scored the game-winning goal in the clincher. And but Freddie was already on a plane early that morning, and picked up by Ray and his brother and his mother, and he was a little groggy for a few days. But as you said, that team is so colorful. Yeah. I mean, players today and it's not their fault. I think a lot of it is because of these things right now, cell phones. They're afraid to be themselves because something's caught on there, and it shows something negative. It could ruin their reputation. But back then, there were no cell phones, and it made everybody's personality livelier, I think.
Derek Sanderson once told me if they had cell phones when he played, they all would have been in jail every night.
That's about right. Yeah.
Even if they didn't have cell phones, I think they were in jail, so it didn't matter.
Hey, Randy Workman in the comment section, I just want to mention, he said, tell the guys, don't forget Bob the Hound Kelly.
No, we would never.
Yeah. Hound is the best. Yeah, I've known Hound for. In fact, the funny thing is when Zach Hill was the former Flyers great public relations director. Oh
yeah, what a guy!
And he got a DVD of the HBO special on the Broad Street Bullies, and Hound happened to be there with me, and we went to a room. He said, "If you guys want to watch this, I'll put it on." It was a pre-screening, so I watched it with Hound, and it was funny because I was half watching the documentary, but I was half watching Hound's reaction to it. Yeah. It was very cool. And but Hound was a good player, an underrated player. I mean, he was not just a guy who could fight. He was the Pete Rose of hockey. He hustled like nobody on the ice. I mean, he was quick, and he scored 20 goals a couple times too. He was a good player.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, listen, we wish you nothing but the best with that. We look forward to it. Let us know when they're doing the premiere. All right.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. We're having fun with it.
Sam, this was so good. Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thanks, Pierre. Thanks, Jimmy. Had a great time.
Right. Sam Carchidi joined us here on the Eye Test. What a great guy. Had the pleasure of being a colleague with him. He's done some work with the National Hockey Now Network, and man, he's seen a lot, Pierre. He's seen it all.
I can't wait to send this segment to Ray Sherrill. I can't.
Oh, he'll love it. Yeah.
I can't wait. I mean, they're such a good Ray and his father and his mom and his brother. So they're a really good hockey family. Ray's boys are in the business now. They're obviously scouting, which is outstanding. One's actually scouting in Philly and one's scouting in Columbus. You think about it, it's been great. But the Sherrill family, tremendous hockey family, and just awesome people. But Sam was excellent.
Oh, yeah. Last minute he did that too. I called him. I emailed him like 2 hours before the show. I said, sorry, last minute. Any chance you come on and talk about Torts last night? I said, no problem. Let's do it. So thanks a lot to Sam Carchidi for joining us.
Really good, Sam. Thank you. That was good.
Good stuff. Well, listen, we are going to have a hard out at 4:55 today. So let's get right to the questions here. And before we do, though, we do have to mention our sponsors. And I'm sure Sam maybe when they do that screening, we can have some Factor meals in the audience to have it there, because Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals make eating better every day easy. Head to factormeals.com/itest50 and use the code itest50 to get 50% off. Again, that's factormeals.com/itest50 and use the code itest50 to get 50% off. Now, I don't know, back in the day with those Flyers teams, Pierre, who was the hairiest guy in the team? But maybe they could have used
I'm going to say Joe Watson.
All right. So, Joe Watson, we urge you to join manscaped.com. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Go to manscaped.com and use code ITEST for 20% off and free shipping. Again, that's manscaped.com. Use the code ITEST for 20% off and free shipping. All right, let's get right into these questions. What do we got, guys? Mike, do you believe Torts is the right guy moving forward for a young team like Philly? 100%, Mike. I totally do. And like we just said, I think he's good for the now and the future. And I think that's a lot about what last night was about.
Agreed.
All right. Next question. Jason Logan. Hey, Jay. Shane Wright is having a good season in the AHL, 43 points, 56 games. What does he need to do to stay in the NHL? Pierre, I'll let you take this one.
Keep playing a 200-foot game. Do what he did last night. It was a great feed from Eberle to Shane Wright. He put it to the back of the net. But it all comes off of good defense for him. Good defense leads to better offense. So keep playing a really good 200-foot game. But I think he learned a lot down in the American Hockey League in Coachella Valley from Danny Bilesman and his staff, and I think it's going to benefit him. Ronnie Francis knows what it takes to play in the league. Ronnie Francis is a really, really good hockey man. I had the privilege of working with him in Pittsburgh many, many moons ago. His hockey sense is exquisite, and he knows what it takes for a player like Shane Wright. The best thing they did with Shane, send him to the American Hockey League and stay there. Don't put him on a yo-yo or on a hill. Just let him stay and then learn and then come up at the right time.
And see what he does in camp next year. All right, next question. Justin LeBron, do you believe the Flyers will still make the playoffs?
I'm not as optimistic, Jimmy.
I'm on the fence. I really am. I apologize, Justin. I can't answer that honestly. Yeah, okay. And Pierre's being honest with you. He's not optimistic. I mean, it's a battle right now. It really is. That Eastern Conference wild card is something.
You know, the one thing that's going against a lot of these teams, and nobody's really talking about them, I know a lot of people buried them, Sidney Crosby's at another level.
Yeah.
If he takes the Penguins and they get on his back and they get some guys help, now they could go into New Jersey and lay an egg tonight. They never play well against Jersey. I don't get it. But if they win tonight in Jersey, they got a legitimate chance because 87's at another level. They're 5 points out on the Capitals for the final wild card slot, 6 behind the Flyers for the third slot in the Metro. They're still do it, but what's that? Look at the games played, though.
Oh, yes. Let's check that out. What do we got? Pittsburgh Penguins are only at 74. Well, the Caps have a game in hand on them at 73, but the Flyers, they've got 2 games in hand on the Flyers, so that could be crucial.
So you see what I mean?
Yeah, they're still in it. They're still in it. Sid has been unreal. All right, next question. Jeffrey B. We know how deep NCAA teams like BC and BU are. Do you think hockey fans are underestimating Michigan considering what Brindley, Nazar, Casey, McGrady, etc. have done lately? Pierre, you said it on and off the air to me. This is a collective effort that's going on there with Michigan. They are not the powerhouse they used to be, but they're all buying in, and it's got them this far. And, hey, who knows? It's one game. Anything can happen, Pierre.
They're well coached. They're getting really good goaltending. Casey didn't play in the last game. He was hurt. To beat Michigan State without him was very impressive. Not pretty impressive. If you haven't seen it, the Nazar pass over to Brindley through the legs, off the rush, spectacular hockey play. Everybody should watch that. That's a celebration of the greatness of the college game and the players that are playing the college game. But Michigan doesn't have that one guy where you say, yep, he's going to be Fantilli, or yep, he's going to be this guy. Or, yep. No, but what they got is they got a team that's a team. They're fun to watch, and I think their coaching staff has deployed them fantastically well.
All right, next question. Morantz, gentlemen, what significant changes in rules in the NHL beginning next season? I missed it.
Just
I don't think there were too many significant ones. There were more tweaks.
The ability of the coach to challenge different things. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, there wasn't too much that came out of those GM meetings. All right, next question. Samuel Matee, thoughts on the UNB Reds historic season? I'll let you take this, Pierre.
We talked about this. They're undefeated. It's unbelievable. Yep. University of New Brunswick. It's just amazing. That Aitken Center must be overpopulated with fans. I mean, it's just to think about going through a season. Now, most of their players are older. They're major junior players. Some have pro experience. But it's a phenomenal thing that they've done up there in Fredericton, New Brunswick, at the University of New Brunswick. Hats off.
And I know it's not New Brunswick, but I just want to say, thinking of our friends up in Newfoundland, I don't know if you heard the news, Pierre, that they are losing their Growlers team in the ECHL. Sounds like that is going to happen. So hopefully they figure out some miracle to save it. But I know a lot of people are in and around that work with that team, that benefit off that team. Our good friend Terry Ryan, who we had on this show, played a professional game with them this season. So hopefully they can pull some miracle out. If not, I hope they get another team soon. All right, next question. Marvin Matthews, the fall of the Broad Street Bullies by the Habs was the best thing that happened to hockey in the early 70s.
You know what happened is the Canadians didn't mess around. You know, guys like Mario Tremblay, Rick Chartrand, Doug Riseborough, but Larry Robinson was a stabilizer through that whole thing. And you ask anybody that was on those Canadians teams, they'll tell you, Larry did stuff that most people thought could never happen against the Flyers, and the Canadians responded in kind. They really did. You know, it's an amazing. Yeah, they did. They got slayed. The Flyers got slayed by the Canadians, and it changed the dynamic of hockey for a while. There's no question.
Great point by Marvin there. All right, next question. Mike, how do you explain Colorado being so bad on the road compared to at home? They are a deep team. Matchups should not be an issue. That's a great question, Mike. If I had the answer, I'd probably be working for the Avalanche, but I don't know. I mean, is it they were used to the altitude, so they have that advantage at home? Last change and all that. I don't know why they are a little different on the road. It's just a phenomenon.
Well, altitude plays a difference. It does help. So the home ice advantage is really apparent there. When you're at 6,000 or 6,100 feet above sea level, it is different. I can tell you. Just walk from the hotel to the rink, you get tired. And you could be in really good shape until you're used to it. It's tough. So for the visitors, it's hard. Well, last night they probably deserved a better fate. I mean, the truth of the matter is they didn't finish plays off, but they outshot Columbus, and they did a lot of good things in the game. They hit a lot of pipes, too. They just couldn't finish the plays off.
All right, next question. Pierre, 87 Eagles, by the way, is asking this or saying it. Pierre, I played for McDonald Park from Snowden in 81-82. Do you know if Mario played for Little Burgundy? I was told I played against him, but I'm not sure.
Villemard. He played for Villemard Hurricanes.
Yeah, I would say you'd remember if you played against him.
No, but, to be fair,
you never know at that age.
Mario would have been in 81 and 82. Mario was playing major junior hockey.
Yep.
But before he played major junior, he was playing in Villemard for the Villemard Hurricanes.
All right, there we go.
Which is right next to Little Burgundy, by the way.
Okay. Little Burgundy, there's a bar named that.
It's right down by the Atwater Market for those.
Yeah, I know that area. All right, there we go. All right, next question. Jason Logan, Pierre, I heard you were a very good football player, but what made you stay in hockey and not turn to football?
I love football. I still love football. I was stupid, though, because my body got broken in half playing. And it probably affected a little bit of my hockey career. But no, I just love football. I love everything about it. My dad, my late father, really helped me with that because he played football. And so, no, I appreciate it. I loved hockey from the time I was a little boy. You grow up in Montreal and you see the Montreal Canadiens and you say, wow, these guys are special. And so I've always loved hockey. I think the thing about football that I liked, it's the ultimate team. Football is a real team game. Hockey is as well, but it's different. Football is different, and I'd say of all my athletic friends, probably the guys that I played high school football with at Bergen Catholic High School in New Jersey, they're probably still my best friends, and
great stuff.
And it just shows you I'm older now, I'm 62. We've lost 3 or 4 in the last year, and it's really sad when you hear that. And a lot of them were real good players. Like they went on and had tremendous careers playing. It's kind of sad, but I love football. I always love football, and I always will.
Yep. And a big Giants fan.
I am, and a Montreal Alouettes fan. Don't forget my Montreal Alouettes.
There we go. There we go. Good for the Alouettes. All right, next question. Chris Damaris. Hey, guys, do you remember Matt Naslin as a Bruin? Leach is a Bruin. Federal is a Red Wing. Madonna is a Red Wing. Any other names I forgot? Yeah, it's weird when you see all those types of players that remain mainstays with another team in another uniform.
Well, what about Nyland from Montreal to New York and then New York to Boston?
I know. I was just going to say that was a big one.
Oh my goodness, that was
really weird, man.
One. How about Kevin Stevens and Joey Mullen both playing for the Boston Bruins?
Yep.
People remember that or no? I mean, there's a lot. I mean, how about Pierre LaRouche? Pierre LaRouche was Montreal, New York, Pittsburgh. Like Pierre LaRouche was an amazing player. Yeah, well, Guy Lafleur. How about he played in Montreal, New York, and Quebec?
Yeah.
So I could think of a lot of those. Marcel Dion,
good one. Yep. I remember Leach, though. Leach was when I first started covering the Bruins, and he was here.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was strange. All right, next question. What do we got, guys? Oh, we might be, are we good? No more right now, Pierre.
You got a lot of business still to do, don't you? Did you do both?
I did. We did that. And but I do want to, it's out there now, Pierre. So I do want to congratulate your son, Ryan, who is transferring to Northeastern University in the Hockey East. We'll get to play in the Bean Pot now. So congratulations to Ryan McGuire and to you as well, Pierre.
I had nothing to do with it, but I'm grateful for your kind words. Like to thank, and I mean this sincerely, the portal process. There are a lot of families going through it right now. We're grateful that the process is over for us. My son loved his 3 years at Colgate University, especially playing for Coach Vaughn, loved playing for Donnie Vaughn, and was part of a championship team there. And he'll always be brothers with those guys he won with. But, the way this whole portal thing came down for us, we're so grateful for everybody that's been involved on the Northeastern side of things. And whether that's Jimmy Madigan, the athletic director at Northeastern, obviously Jerry Keefe, who's the head coach, Mike Levine, the associate coach, Jason Guerrero, the assistant. I mean, this was so seamless for us, and I keep hearing the horror stories of the portal, but for us as a family, this was not a difficult thing. But I do know it is a difficult thing because it's such an emotional decision, if that makes sense to you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
So we're really grateful, and we're excited. It's been Ryan's dream since he was a little boy to play in the Bean Pot. So
yep.
Now he's got a chance to play, so it's pretty cool.
Well, the Huskies are gaining a good player and a good hockey dad, Pierre. So we'll leave it at that. If there are any more questions here, guys, what do we got? Anything? I think we're good. Just a lot of congratulations there. Oh, Bernie Federico, Chris Damaris said as a Red Wing. That was the guy he was thinking of.
Well, that would know that trade? That was Adam Oates. That was Adam Oates for Bernie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right.
That was Adam Oates going to St. Louis, and that created Hull and Oates in St. Louis.
And then Oates went to Boston and teamed up with Cam Neely, Craig Janey over to St. Louis.
Ended up in Anaheim, too. He played for the Mighty Ducklings.
Yep.
You did. I'll tell you one thing, Jimmy. You brought his name up. Adam Oates. I'm going to say, when you look at college hockey players, all-time great players, he has to be in the top 10 all time and maybe the top 5. Like, I'm talking Brian Leach has to be in there. Paul Correa's got to be in there. Joe Nieuwendyke's got to be in there. I think Joey Mullen's got to be in there. Like a lot of it shows you how many good players have played in college hockey. But Adam's got to be in that. I mean, the 85 RPI team that won the national championship for the late Mike Odessa, what an amazing array of talent they had there. But Adam Oates is the guy that made that whole thing happen. He was just amazing, really amazing.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Pierre, I got to watch him growing up, so I never covered him. But just talking to players that played with him, it's just about how cerebral he was and just, the way he saw the game so differently than others. There's few that can do that. That, Pierre, you've worked in and around the game for so long. But he defined the word playmaker. I mean, this guy had eyes on the back of his head.
Yeah, he did. I mean, you can ask Cam Neely, you can ask Brett.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And his playmaking skills he's a right-hand shot that loved to attack your right defense, or he'd like to come down as offside. And when you watch enough tape of him, you could really see the idiosyncrasies in his game. And we played them 2 years in a row in Boston, that is, in Eastern Conference final. But it took a lot of tape watching to figure him out. And what we would try to do is force him to move the puck before he got across the red line. So he'd have to move it on his backhand over to Neely, who's a right winger. And that's when we could step up and take Neely's space away. We were trying, especially in the small Boston Garden. And if you watch those tapes, you'll see just what we did to him.
I was there.
You know, I can just say you had to game when you did a game plan for Boston, you had to worry about Bork on the back end. You had to worry about Neely on the right side, and you had to worry about Oates attacking your right defense.
Yeah.
Really, 3 critical components to beating Boston.
Yep. And you guys did a good job of shutting them down in those series 2 years straight.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, we want to thank Sam Carchidi for joining us here. He was a great guest. Yeah. Really looking forward to that series. And that's pretty cool. It's a TV series. Like,
I know. I'm kind of looking forward to that too. Yeah. I don't know if it can be as graphic if it's on TV.
Yeah. Well, hey, they got Shorzy out there, man. That's pretty it's pretty good. It depends what channel they put it on, I guess, right? I mean, we'll see. If it's Netflix, who cares? No. So we'll see what happens with that. But looking forward to that as well. And thank our production crew up in Montreal, as always. They do such a great job. And thanks to you guys in the comments section asking great questions, as always. And I see a couple late ones in there. Ask those again tomorrow. We will get to them because I do like them and I want to answer some of them. But he is Pierre McGuire. I'm Jimmy Murphy. We will talk to you tomorrow on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.